Al Haymon. We keep hearing of the lawsuits, complaints by other promoters, and pissed off investors. We all know about the Waddell and Reed, the $925 million lawsuit, the Ryan Caldwell situation, and the allegations of Haymon running a criminal organization. When I first heard of the PBC and the strategy that Haymon was using for the company, or to take over boxing, it reminded me of a guy I knew who made a killing buying TV airtime. Of course, it was on a much smaller scale than what Haymon has done. Obviously, his is between $500 million and almost $1 billion with Uncle Al. But the guy I'm talking about still made a killing, but on a local level. This was like 10 years ago, before all the social media and whatnot. But what this guy would do was he would buy a ton of commercial spots on cable. Almost all of it was off-peak. We're talking the real shitty stuff like at 3 a.m. in the morning. But he would buy a ton of these off-peak cable spots and some peak time spots on MTV, VH1, Entertainment TV, whatever. But he would buy in such a large quantity that he would get some of these 30-second spots for like $5 or $10 each. I mean, peak prime spots are crazy expensive, but this guy was using Sam's Club strategy of buying in bulk to reduce the price. I mean, this dude had a ton of juice with the media companies because every month he was buying a shitload of TV commercial spots. He would even buy 1 and 2 hour blocks for like infomercials. You know, the junk you see at 3 a.m. in the morning. He then would go to restaurants, bars, clubs, nightclubs, car dealerships, and create the commercials for these companies, or, sell them, try and make sales on these companies. He would make a video, edit it, whatever. He would create the whole video for something like $500. Again, this was probably 10 years ago, before everyone had a camera and it was easy to make videos. Anyway, he would make the videos and put them up on the commercials for less than most people could buy a commercial spot for, because he was getting such a good deal buying these bulk, buying the TV spots in bulk. Anyway, to make a long story short, he made a ton of money. I have not seen this dude in a long time, and I'm not even sure his system would still work with so many people not watching TV and social media being so attractive now. However, when I heard about Uncle Al and what he was doing, it seemed so similar. From the way I understood it, Big Al got some investors, put together a ton of cash, and bought a lot of TV slots on various channels. Again, he appeared to be buying in bulk and probably was getting a better deal than if some promoter wanted to just buy a slot as a one-off event. Plus, Big Al is actually paying the network to air his content. So if another boxing promoter comes along and says, hey, we're putting together this fight card, do you guys want to buy it? And we can air it on your channel. These TV channels would probably say, why in the hell would we pay you so we can air your fight card when Big Al is paying us to air his fight card? I believe this is what happened to ESPN Friday Night Fights. Anyway, Big Al bought up some of these outlets in bulk and began to squeeze out the competition. I believe he has already ran through almost $600 million. So on the surface, I'm trying to determine if this was a good move or not. When you really dig into it, Al is doing some really heavy stuff. I'm sure most of us can't even begin to understand all that he's doing. The first thing is that he seems to keep his fighters in check. For example, we hear how, the Florida State Athletic Commission will report that Keith Thurman made $1.5 million on a fight. Then in the back room or the locker room after the fight, Big Al will cut Thurman another check for, say, $1.2 million. I also heard Berto say something similar. He was reported to make $4.5 million or whatever to fight Floyd Mayweather. Then, he said he actually ended up making more. Big Al cut him a check. And this is exactly what the UFC does. They don't commit or put in writing what type of check you will receive other than, just the base pay. But then in the locker room, if you're lucky, they can, and many times do, cut the fighters a check. What this does is force the fighters to kiss the promoter's ass or manager or advisor's ass. So the first thing they say in an interview would be something like, first of all, I want to thank Al Haymon. But it also keeps the fighters off guard and never knowing what type of bonus check they will get. I'm sure this probably creates a great deal of loyalty. If you speak out against or don't kiss Al's ass, you probably won't get a big bonus check. You'll probably just end up getting what's on the contract that you signed. Plus, you can never truly budget for your needs. I mean, if your contract says you're going to get $2 million, and in the past Al's always given you an extra $500,000, but you don't know if he is this time, it keeps you in check, man. So I did see that. I have heard many times that Al does that. I mean, this Al Haymon has to be a very intelligent dude, Harvard graduate. I mean, he's worked with everyone from Whitney Houston, Janet Jackson, Boyz II Men, Eddie Murphy. And it seems like he's worked with damn near every boxer in the business. Next, we hear all of these companies Al has started. Haymon Boxing, LLC, Haymon Sports, LLC, Haymon Enterprises, LLC, and the list goes on and on and on. The way I see it, this makes it easy to fold a company. If Al gets sued and loses in court, he can simply just close the business, close the company, say it's done, the business is done. He has nothing to pay. He most likely didn't personally sign, so he personally didn't get sued. It was the company. So even if you hate Al Haymon, you have to believe that he is a mastermind of sorts. But you also have to wonder, what the hell is this guy doing? He has ran through over $500 million in 3 years and has not got a return whatsoever on the initial investment. I mean, how do you spend that kind of cash? Is he embezzling it? Or, what is this guy doing? I see how he can still get his management fees or advisor fees. So he has the PBC investors' money, pay the fighters. Out of that, he collects his management or advisor's fee, which in my mind would be a major violation of the Ali Act. But what really happens when you violate the Ali Act? Are you just told to stop it? Are you fined monetarily? Do you do time in jail? Or is there no real penalty? No one cares? It's just a law that's there. Then when you look at and hear of the contracts, it seems like there is a 2-year extension no matter what happens. If a fighter gets a title shot, a 2-year contract extension is placed on the initial contract. If the fighter gets a TV deal, another 2 years is added to the contract, and on and on and on. So to me, it doesn't really matter if the PBC fails or not. Big Al still has these fighters under contract for an eternity. So I keep thinking, was this just a huge gamble with no real potential loss? No matter what happens, Haymon still has these fighters under contract, and he personally collected his management or advisor fees throughout the whole process. Is the PBC just a gamble to try and kill off the competition? Is it to build a huge star? Just like in music, if you can build 1 or 2 huge stars, that's really all you need to help a company blow up for several years. It seems like with all the companies Al has created, he has insulated himself from everything. I'm pretty sure he didn't personally guarantee anything, so only his companies would be liable, and like we just discussed, he can fold them. if he were to get sued or to get in major trouble. I mean, unless he's done personally something illegal. But if it's just bad business, I mean, what are they going to do? The money's gone. Obviously, Big Al's goal was to buy up media spots and muscle everyone out. But Arum has, what, 50 years plus experience in the game? And he doesn't seem to be going anywhere, even though he's in his mid-80s. I think in the Pacquiao-Mayweather fight, Arum got most, if not all, of the sponsorship dollars. Mayweather and Haymon didn't really produce shit as far as sponsorship money went. So I think the media buy was a clever idea. But to me, the critical error was he put on shit fights. So going forward, with the history of these shitty fights and shitty ratings, no network is going to want to pay for that product. Like Eddie Hearn recently explained, these TV channels want top quality fights, especially if they're going to be paying for them. When you're paying the network to air your fights, you can probably get away with putting on this garbage. But when the money runs out, then what? Now, one of the things I do like about all these lawsuits, or the top rank lawsuit anyway, is that apparently if the lawsuit goes to discovery, Haymon has said he will try to obtain every piece of information possible on Manny Pacquiao to prove that he took far better care of Mayweather than Arum took care of Pacquiao. So to me, it would be good to see if Bob Arum really was screwing Pacquiao out of millions of dollars like so many people have speculated. Anyway, what do you guys think of the PBC? A good move? Or did Haymon totally screw up? Most likely he didn't put up much of his own money. Probably didn't put up any of it. It was all investor money. Most likely, no matter what happens, he'll still have his fighters under contract. The major downside is his name probably will be shit with other investors, and he will have to find a way to honor these contracts that he has with the fighters. I mean, if he has to pay him $1.5 million, he's going to have to come up with the money somehow. But maybe Al has a backdoor plan or a way of making the PBC survive. I mean, a lot of people say what he's doing is illegal. But if we all remember, I mean, he did everything, it seemed like above the table when, it seems like every day we were hearing that Al was signing a new fighter, and we never heard that Golden Boy was. And obviously it was that dirtbag Richard Schaefer's responsibility to take care of Golden Boy, and Oscar was off doing whatever he was doing. But it didn't seem like Al was hiding anything. He was just signing boxer after boxer. So he's been said to be running a criminal empire, which if so, he could be in major trouble. But if he can just make the allegation that it was bad business, that's why the PBC went under, then to me it looks like he's still in good shape, man. He has the fighters under contract. They seem to love him. And if he finally puts on good fights, he can sell them to Showtime or even CBS, ESPN. I mean, the key is he'd have to put on good fights. But anyway, let me know what you think. Talk to you guys later.